So hi all, welcome back to this channel of BeePracticed, and today we will be looking at another AWS Cloud Practitioner question series. Now it states that a user is comparing purchase options for an application that runs on Amazon EC2 and Amazon RDS. The application cannot sustain any interruption. The application experiences a predictable amount of usage, including spikes that last only a few weeks during each season, and application can't be modified. Uh, so before I jump into the options and the exact requirement, okay, so let me briefly describe this question for you a bit more so that it becomes ease into understanding the actual problem scenario. Now, it's like someone is actually reviewing the price options or the purchase options for an application that he or she owns and that has to be run on Amazon EC2 and Amazon RDS instances, right? Now, the application it is such that it should not have any kind of interruptions in between, because it might happen that if there's some kind of okay interruptions or some kind of, let's say, problems, there could be a loss or there could be connectivity issues and the application could get failed and it would stop working. And the second part of this particular question states that uh, the application has the capability to handle a predictable amount of load, right? But during each season, in the last few weeks, so maybe it can be a different type of application which has a feature or which has a certain policy or some kind of extra advantage or extra uh, I can say service, due to which during each season, right, there is a spike during the last few weeks, right? So if let's say we consider summers, now summers, it could be let's say falling between let's say March to June. Now, okay, last week of June, okay, let's say second week, third week, or the like fourth week, this application can see a spike in its okay usage. And considering all this, the architecture is such, right, that the application cannot be changed. Means due to these spikes which comes, uh, architecture or the design or the like foundation of this application, it cannot be changed at all, right? Uh, it has to handle it, right? So that is why the user has come to Amazon to review the best purchase option so that with all these conditions and certainties and uncertainties, the application should run properly, right? I hope you guys have got the gist and the basic context of this particular question. Okay, so now let's look at the uh, four options. Option A is that the user will be reviewing the AWS marketplace, and in that he would buy a partial upfront, okay, reserved instances, right, to cover the predicted and the seasonal loads, right? Now, option B is that he would choose to buy a reserved instance for the predicted amount of usage throughout the year. And if there is some kind of seasonal spikes, he might choose an option for spot instances. Option C is that he would buy all the reserved instances to cover all the potential usage, right? That would be resulting out from the seasonal spikes. And option D is buy the reserved instances for the predicted amount of usage throughout the year. And if there is some kind of seasonal usage, so for that he would choose to run it on the on-demand rate, right? Now, as we know that the option to choose the correct answer would be dependent upon the hints which is there in the question itself. So now let's check for the hints. The first hint is that the application cannot sustain any interruption, right? And if you see this, that means that EC2 should be running continuously. Okay. And the second option is spikes that last only a few weeks during each season that we have already discussed. And yes, application cannot be modified. That is the basic principle that is there in this particular application. Now, first option, of course, it is not right. Why? Because it is used to, okay, you see, in this, there would be a scenario, or there could be a particular option that, yes, he could buy a, okay, let's say, partial upfront reserved instances, but then it would be it would be not covering the entire runtime, right? It is not stated anywhere that he just okay needs for a certain time frame. No, he needs it for the complete okay year round. At least I can say that, right? So option A is okay not the correct answer. Again, option B is also okay not going to be the correct answer. Why? Because uh even though he buys right the okay if so even if he buys the reserve instances for the let's say predicted amount of usage, but then he's choosing spot instances to cover the seasonal spikes, and we all know that with the spot instances there is a challenge as in, if suppose today AWS has decided that the spot instances, right, which is going to be a kind of temporary instance, and it is costed at $10, suppose, and the very next day the price has changed to $12, right? And you would not be getting that much of time to know this. It can happen, right? That suppose someone has not paid the attention, or someone has not checked the email alert from AWS in which it has stated that yes, the spot instances price has changed from $10 to $12, and the old price service will be discontinued or disconnected. Just think of it. Someone has done this activity and they have thought that, okay, fine, now all things are covered up. I should not be bothering about anything, and my services and my application will run fine. But the very next day, the price has changed, old price service is discontinued, and there will be a downtime for the application. The application will fail, right? So it is kind of a loss. And keep in mind that like spot instances, they are generally being used for testing purpose. Because of this challenge only, they are okay never used in the broad environment. So again, option B will not be the right answer. Now, if I talk about option C, right, he is thinking to buy all the reserve instances. Fair enough, he will buy. But what happens that the seasonal spikes that we just discussed, it has gone up beyond the expected potential limit. Then again, the application will fail. It will go for a toss. So again, option C is okay, not going to be the right answer. Now, if we talk about option D, yes, it is going to be the right answer, because even AWS also suggests that if this kind of scenario is there and the application can face seasonal spikes, but it has to also have a good runtime, it should always be running up and running, right? Then in that scenario, the user or the customer can buy a predicted amount of storage, and then uh, it can go for the on-demand rate policy. That means when he or she launches his application and the application is consuming the service of AWS EC2, okay, or the RDS, uh, it will be, it will be running up, and then on that basis, by per hour or by per second, it can depend upon the billing frequency, right? The on-demand rates will be applied, and your application will be still up and running, and the cost will be sent to your uh, finance centers or whatever you have suggested for it. But the main, okay, crux here is that with this kind of setup, right, when we have an application that cannot be changed, to always deal with the seasonal spikes, and also it cannot face any kind of interruptions, it is good to go for option D, right? So I hope you have liked this content, and please do hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Thank you, and wish you all a very happy learning. Be practiced.